Happy Saturday. We're in a nice, peaceful place right now. We're just hanging outside, laying on our blanket, listening to the birds, connecting with the sun, soaking in our sun energy. This is always where messages come in for me. And I want to make a quick note on that too, because oftentimes when we hear people say things like you're getting messages or downloads, it seems like some esoteric thing that doesn't happen for everybody. But most people are receiving what's considered messages or downloads at any given time throughout the day, but we often are not even connected to that awareness to understand what it is. So one thing to consider is that most of the thoughts that come into our minds throughout the day, unless you are consciously doing some study or research of some kind into a particular subject where you're actively looking into a subject, most other thoughts are not our own. They're some sort of message from your higher self, from the divine wisdom. Someone is a camera hog here. So that's something to keep in mind. And I always become much more aware, Hunter, of these messages when we're just laying outside. So that's what I really love, just laying out on a blanket in the sun. And I become very aware of these messages coming through. So something that just came to me now, and something I have actually gotten multiple times that I wanted to share here, is that you never need to prove your stance to anybody. You never need to provide justification for the decisions that you make for you and your family under any circumstance. I'm trying to block his, he doesn't have pants on, so I'm trying to block from being on Instagram. We often feel like we have to justify our decisions to people or give research or some sort of scientific or agency with status as like some sort of justification for your decisions. Or you also have like loved ones or people who challenge you all the time and tell you to show me your research, show me your science, show me why that's the right decision. But here's the thing. You never need to prove yourself to anybody else, no matter what the decision is. You don't even necessarily have to have a good reasoning or any type of justification. If it doesn't feel right, don't do it. If something within you physically, energetically, if something is resisting and it doesn't feel right for you, it's probably not right for you. And it goes both ways too. Sometimes something might feel right for you and you don't really know why. Like, do you just feel like this is the right move? It maybe is. Take the risk. Take a chance and see how it plays out. Because no matter which way it goes, you will learn from that process. And that's all part of our experience here. Things sometimes don't work out. Certain decisions will show you a reason, will kind of come back and reflect badly, or you might have a bad experience in a situation, and you'll learn from that because of that experience. It doesn't necessarily have to be a right or wrong all the time. Stop. You don't always have to be perfectly right or perfectly wrong, because that is subjective as well. But at the end of the day, you don't need to prove yourself to anybody. And you also don't need to provide proof to others who keep asking for research for you know, if you're making a decision not to take a certain thing right now, and people often want to know proof. Show me the proof of this. Show me why this is dangerous. Show me all the deaths. Show me all the risks. That's not your responsibility. It's just not. I mean, you certainly can if it's someone who's close to you and you would like to offer that information to them. Sometimes it's in a way where someone is genuinely concerned about what's going on, what's being asked of them, and they want to know the reality behind these options and what's going on. And you can usually tell the energy of someone who generally wants to learn and someone who is being very combative or just trying to kind of make fun of you or make a fight of it. Because usually what will happen with certain people, and you can tell the energy pretty quickly, is anything you give them, any type of information, no matter where it's from, they will dismiss it for whatever reason. And I'm sure you've dealt with this type of person before. I have many times, where it doesn't matter where your resource, where any of your information comes from, they will dismiss it in some way, one way or another. So that is really the main message I had coming through today, that you never need to prove your stance to anybody. You never need to justify your decisions to anybody else. If you choose to homeschool or unschool or public school, whatever it is, you don't ever have to justify it or explain why you've made these decisions to other people. Unless it's a spouse, of course. If it's someone who you're co-parenting with or has equal say, then it can be challenging, which I'm dealing with now, someone who might see life or circumstances a little differently than you. It needs to be a much more open discussion. Conscious discussions, equal collaboration, without compromising everybody's health just because one person refuses to see real risks and real things going on. And you need to be able to be strong enough in your knowing to stand up for that as well. And I say that as someone who's dealing with that exact thing myself. This just inner knowing of a certain way of doing things, and you just know that it's right, right for you guys, yourself and your children. And it's hard to really explain that to a partner who doesn't get it, and it doesn't make them stupid or a sheep or whatever names we want to call people, because that's not helpful either. That comes from a place of wounding, projecting that kind of name calling stuff, trying to make yourself feel superior or that you're smarter, whatever. What else did I want to say with that? I would just say that's the main thing I've been coming upon right now in any discussion I've had, is this either someone feeling like they have to justify their decisions. That comes from a place of wounding as well. People pleasing, needing to be accepted, and that comes from a deep place of kind of an abandonment, a trauma. Rather than being like, this is good for us, it doesn't really matter if you see it or not, and moving on. Or having the other person be the one saying, show me this research, show me why I should believe you. Then you need to be confident enough to know, I don't have to prove it to you. If you actually want to look into it, you can look into it and find information yourself, because it's out there. There's ample amounts of information out there right now. It's just whether or not you want to consider it. And you cannot take everything at face value either. Just because it's a truther or conspiracy person questioning the narrative doesn't mean that they're right either. Because what I'm finding is, even within the truther community, there's only a very small fraction that are really, in my opinion, going in the most aligned and loving direction in terms of the loving frequency in which we should be moving into. You know, if you understand the idea of new earth and shifting frequency and 5D and all that stuff, you know what I'm trying to say here. It's a small fraction of people who are actually really going in the way that's honest and transparent. And there's not one right or wrong either. We are all going down this timeline just in different speeds. Let's put it that way. Just remember that time isn't linear. Everything happens. It can be happening in parallel times, you know, and you don't realize it. It's that idea is really hard to kind of grasp. We see things very linear, and from what I've seen the last couple of years in terms of the presidential stuff and everything playing out, is I feel like it's been played in reverse. Like, I feel like the result is already had. The result has been done, and now we're just seeing what came up to that result. We're all needing to see. We need to see it. Honey, stop. We need to all see it before we can get to the end, so to speak. I think in terms of like time travelers. And again, it all seems foreign, but if you look into secret space programs and stuff like that, there have been a lot of people who have done like 20 and back programs, and they explain they literally have lived 20 years in this program, and then you come back and you're kind of almost reliving the things you've already experienced. It's very interesting. So I guess that's kind of my share for the day. So just remember, you do not need to justify your decisions with anybody. You don't need to prove yourself to anybody. Just know what's true to yourself and what's best for yourself and your family, and people's acceptance doesn't really matter. Standing strong in ourselves and having the confidence and knowing that what we feel is right for us is right, that's where we really need to be going. That trust in ourselves, trust in our knowing. All right, I'm going to go play with this little guy. Everyone have a good Saturday. Bye. You say bye? Bye.